Hey, this is Wednesday, December 2nd, advanced class, as we're apparently talking about giving money to student revolutionaries, which is not a thing that we should be getting into whatsoever, or starting to form gangs so we can go around beating up teachers, which is probably also not a thing that we should be getting into. But what are you going to do when you have a whole bunch of hoodlum children? Oh, wait, I know the answer. Teach them. Sounds like you're speaking. Well, if it helps, I am kind of speaking a foreign language. I was saying like Viva la Revolucione, which is sort of like Spanish, but it's about as much Spanish as my ASL is whenever I talk to Happy. All right, and then that kid's still alive, which in other words means not in Spanish at all, just like my ASL is not even close. But that requires like learning and effort, and I'm lazy. I've learned from my students. Anyway, back to here. This does not apply to you guys yet, third period, but since you guys are my only class with all of your work turned in, flexing on the fools, but I am also assigning new homework today. So we're going to find out if you guys, it's been like 3 weeks. Do not even throw hands in the air on that one. You guys have been flexing on kids with the fact it's been 3 weeks and still no other class has caught you in the we have turned in all our homework thing. So we have to challenge you again to see if you step up to it. It's not a lot of homework, but it's some homework. Technically, I gave you homework last night, which was reading chapter 2, which creeped out Joey. But we'll talk about creeping out Joey here in just a moment. Then we're going to do a little bit of review because our quiz tomorrow for you guys, no, quiz Friday for you guys, tomorrow for the other class. It's going to go all the way back to some of our older stuff. Outsiders, you are going to need bookie book thing. So we will get a chance to get into chapter 3 here in a moment. So there's the bookie book thing. Then we're going to go to quiz outsiders page on outsiders. Oh, by the way, if you go to Canvas up there next where it has student of the week, I have now added in student of the month because we have 2 students of the month. And since you guys can't see the posters here in the hallway, I've added the posters to the thing up there. So now I get to add that also. So it's not just student of the week. I also put student of the month up there also as a bragging thing. So go you, for those of you who get to have that special thing going for you. And I mailed out student of the month letters with like a button in them and stuff like that. So yay. If you didn't have time to read chapter 2, then you're gonna have to go back and read it because we're gonna spoil part of it, but it's gonna be on the quiz. I mean, you're welcome to be lazy. That's always an option. I just wouldn't recommend it myself, but Outsiders page, for those of you who don't have time to read, you can always do the audiobook file and you can listen to it. Just don't try to do the audiobook while you're playing Among Us because you're not going to be able to concentrate while you're running away from some guy trying to stab you with his tongue. So you have to make sure you can actually pay attention and concentrate, hopefully read the book at the same time. Here is your first official homeworky thing for you, which is going to be the EXL E.5 over figures of speech. It is kind of a reviewy thing. I do blame your other teachers. I know that they're awful and they give you way more homework than I could possibly do. So I apologize for teachers everywhere. I know I try not to assign as much. Heaven forbid I give you 1 chapter to read and that's like way too much, but it's all right. I don't know what's wrong with you, child. So again, here's your figures of speech IXL. It does connect to the quiz. If you do well on quiz, then you get to get out of it. So go you. Sure, EXL, if that brings you happiness. I was going to call it IXL. If I pronounced it EXL, then that was the Spanish version. The Spanish for IXL is AXL. And that was, wow, that was a horrible accent. Pay no attention to that. Ignore it. Pretend it never happened. That's why we're not recording class. And then things to know for quiz tomorrow. I do not think that makes sense, but thank you. Here's what you're going to need to know for a quiz. I'm going to do a quick remindy thing to try and help you guys out. Outsiders through the end of chapter 4. In theory, responsible kids, you should have finished chapter 2 and you got to Dally being really creepy. We're going to start chapter 3 and we're going to talk about that because I think we're going to get into death of a kid soon. Yes, by the time we get to quiz, we'll find out that someone has died. Hopefully not from Amanda's gang, but someone will have died at some point. Maybe Amanda's gang too. Who knows how these things are going to do. Oh my goodness gracious. Stop joining hoodlum gangs. Oh my goodness. Thank you for letting me know. That's a straight. Anyway, also, I'm going to have questions about Annabelle Lee and Richard Corey because I've not had a chance to go put them on the quiz yet. And then also questions about idioms and haiku because we struggled with those. and then irony and foreshadowing because it connects to outsiders, and then similes and metaphors. So just make sure that you're aware of those things. How do you love death, but you are unhappy with what happened in chapter 2? It was almost the exact same thing. You're very confusing children. All right, here is your speedy review to run through old things because it's been a while. I don't know, you're currently blocked, so I can't really see you, so you're fine at the moment. I don't think I can see you at all. Oh, no, there it is. No, you're fine. It just bleeds it out. I see you pointing to it. Simile, once again, makes sure you're comparing two nouns using like or as in, the light in Mina's picture is like the sun burning my eyes. So that becomes my simile, using two things, comparing two nouns, using like or as, and stuff like that. Yes, metaphor, compare two nouns by stating one noun is the other one. I could say Amanda is a crazed monkey as she continues to try and recruit people to her student revolution gang. And that way I get to compare Amanda to a monkey. They're like, Mr. Broviak, that's not fair. It's the same thing. Burn! And so we get to attack. That is how you pick a fight with a gang member. You compare them to a monkey. Or I could pick a fight with Mrs. Frush, but that's too easy.
I hope you like the
Let me get my switchblade out. Hold on.
bats.
Because we're all yelling with you're not competing on who's doing the most recruiting. Anyway, irony, the fact that the opposite of what we expect to happen in a situation. I was trying to make it it's ironic that Mrs. Frush teaches English comp, but doesn't know that exposition is the boring beginning part of stories. I mean, that's not fully ironic, but it works for me. Plus, it rips on Mrs. Frush. You do have cool. It is ironic that Evan is the only kid with weapons on screen with his highlighters, yet no one has recruited him to join their gang yet. Thank you, Evan. You have helped me teach irony on that one. And then foreshadowing, clues left in the story. We have a lot of foreshadowing, especially in chapter 2 with Johnny. Multiple things pop up there with the whole foreshadowing thing. And then we get to haiku. Makes remember the 3-line poem 575 about nature. Idioms, not idiots. Like those are the kids who try to start fights with teachers. That's completely different. I see your list. Yeah, and then the figurative and your literal. So you can use all of your notes and stuff like that. I don't think Sophia had a choice. Did you just force her in? You can, oh, never mind. I see the fact that, never mind, Sophia wanted to be recruited. I didn't know Sophia was a hoodlum also. To remind you, you have Annabelle Lee, which is the poem about not gang members, but about the angels and the jealousy and the death and stuff like that. I'm not calling a kid. And then we have Richard Corey, another one about death and having everything going for, Richard Corey was a Soch, if you want to make our connection between the two stories, but he in his heart wants to be a greaser because they have connections with friends and the Soches don't. So we're going to see, actually, that'd probably make a pretty good question on the quiz connecting, never mind. Pay no attention, I'll just use it on the quiz instead. That's all the stuff that's going to be on quiz, plus the whatchamacallit thing. And then also the outsiders stuff, which we'll come back to the outsiders thing from there. Now we can jump into stuff from here. Let's do reviewy bits over chapter 2. That is QAnon. I agree, Erica. I believe QAnon wrote Richard Corey. That was the first thing right there. So into our greaser thing to review chapter 2. So we get into, we have the Cools, which was, I think, Dally who stole the Cools, because Dally, I mean, it could be any number who make the poor choice. I'm pretty sure Dally was the one who was the cigarette thief. And at the beginning of chapter 2, that's when Dally tries to beat up junior high kids, but then they go running away from him and stuff like that. So we get to find out again about what a bad person Dally is. And then those of you who read chapter 2, you really got to find out what a bad person Dally was when he gets to be all creepy style. If Me Too was happening during this time period, I've got a feeling the hashtag Me Too thing would go against Dally because he was all kinds of creepy and stuff like that, especially against Cherry and Marcia. The drive-in restaurant, that's what they go running down to, which will pop up again later on. And then we get to the drive-in movie theater, which was where, was it Dally, Ponyboy, and Johnny go and sneak in there. And that's when they run into the two girls, Cherry and Marcia, who are the two Soch girls. Let's do a chat challenge. Here's my chat challenge for you. Hang on. So though this is only works, Yes, you should definitely attack Mr. Broviac tomorrow and let him know that you're attacking so that he can prepare himself with his multiple weapons, that he can defend himself, even though it might not do much against Evan's highlighters. But I can at least fake stab you with my fake weapon when you fake stab me with your fake weapon, and then we can come together. No, not at high noon. I'm eating
We're not
lunch.
cool. We don't stab. We just beat you against the head with a large metal bat.
Oh, well, I don't think that makes you a better person. I'm bringing my knife to your bat fight, but thank you. All right, here's your chat challenge. Hang on. No, not sending it to just Amanda. I want to send it to everybody. All right, so there. So we meet Cherry and Marcia in the story. Turns out they showed up with dates. Here's my question to you. When Ponyboy, Dally, and Johnny meet them, we find out why they left their boyfriends. Why did Cherry and Marcia ditch their boyfriends in order to go and sit by themselves? So I want to find, why did they ditch their boyfriends to go and sit by? Are you raising your hand, Happy? It's a chat challenge. You can ask your question. Don't you sassy head me. I see you sassy head. All right, ready? And chat challenge. We have, sorry, that's a lot of answers. By the way, for those of you who are unaware, the correct answer was their boyfriends got drunk and they made poor choices. And it turns out the first winner was Tyler, who did not win yesterday. So Tyler is in the winning thing. Tyler, congratulations, you did win. The boyfriends got drunk. Eli was second. And then Evan wanted to get drunk and party and fight people and stuff. I mean, they kind of do that stuff later on. And they brought beer. All right, you guys. All right, they had alcohol and they did. All right.
I'd gladly join them.
Eli, thank you for admitting to your poor choices. That is so kind of you. By the way, if it helps,
man, when you're in a gang, it just kind of happens a lot.
So in the story, by the way, you only have to be 18 to drink. Not 21, if that makes a difference. As we find out in the story, the drinking age used to be 18. It didn't become 21 until like the 1970s or something like that. So it's not as bad. So there's every chance they may have been old enough to drink if they were already 18. But that's a whole different thing. So they come down there, and then let's see, we have Dally, who gets all creepy and does the hitting on them and stuff like that. And then, all right, I don't know if anyone's going to get this one. All right, I have a chat challenge for you. I don't know if anyone's going to get a chance to answer it, though. All right, ready? Here's your chat challenge. Hang on, I forgot to stuck a bracket. Into there. When you find yourself kicked out of class, realize it is because of the choices that you make in chat. All right, and that kid's gone. All right, here is your chat challenge. Cherry and Marcia are the two people that we meet that are the Soch girls. Cherry is a nickname. That is not her real name when she first introduces herself to the boys. My question is, and this is again, not something I would make you memorize. It was more just, I'm curious to see if you know it. What was her real name when she first tells it to them and then says, I have no idea what's wrong with the internet, and then says that her nickname was Cherry because she has red hair? I know your first thought is, Mr. Broviac, red-haired people don't exist. They do exist. I'm just trying to pick a fight with a kid who keeps staring at me and giving me dirty eye because it entertains me because she throws hands at me. All right, ready? Hang on. There. And chat challenge. There we go. And it is not Charity. It is not bad. Correct answer was Sherry. And that is, wow, Shaver, who got Sherry. I mean, I think your spelling may have been slightly off, but I don't know how to spell myself. I think it was like an I or a Y or something like that. But yeah, she says her name is Sherry Valens, but because she has red hair, everybody calls her Cherry Valens. And so that's why she gets the nickname Cherry. It's just not her real name. I was just curious if you know. All right. So I have the fact that they get there. And then, all right. I have one more. I think I have one more. Here's one more chat challenge for you. By the way, if you find yourself kicked out of class and you come back, and you don't apologize for your choices, realize that's why you get kicked out again, because choices. All right, here is your next chat challenge. Dally is a gigantic flaming jerk. No, that's not an apology. That's only 3 letters. So don't make me force you to have to learn. And so on to here. Dally comes back and is an incredibly mean, jerky person to the women. And somebody stands up to him and makes him leave. My question is, who stands up to Dally and forces him to leave when he's being gigantic, jerk-facey person? All right, because it's like a huge thing when this happens in story. All right, you're forgiven this time. I'm watching you. And chat challenge. Who is my person? And nicely done. Wow, it hurts me because he's sassy, but Eli is correct. He was my first one to come in. Good job, Eli. I respect your game. And then so it's Johnny, or Johnny boy. So Eli was first, Evan, and then Tyler. Go you guys. Johnny, surprisingly, I would agree. I clicked too early is not a name, but I do agree. You did click too early, but I just wanted to sass you on that one. All right, so it gives me the chat. And Johnny's the one that stands up to him. And then 2-Bit shows up and they're going to walk home. All right, so that's where we got to. Don't be too sassy, child. I see you there with your sassy face. Then we found out that's when they talk about, hey, isn't your brother the one that dropped out and he works at the place? He's like, yeah, he's a gas jockey. Ooh, hang on. I have another question. Let's go with. All right. I think we can ask this question. Let's find out. Here's my last chat challenge, I believe, before we start. There's a flashback scene talking about Johnny and Johnny getting beat up. So here's my question for you. I think we know this answer. I've read the whole book, so sometimes I get a little bit confused. So I think we have this answer. Let's find out. When we tell that story and we find out what happens to Johnny, we should have an idea of who it is that beat Johnny up. I don't mean just Socias. We know more than that. Do we know that answer in the story yet, or has that not popped up yet? No, it's not popped up yet? Okay, then never mind. I can't ask that question.
Yes, it did. It was in there.
I think it doesn't show up until, I think we have suspicions. I don't know if we know for sure.
No, it specifically lists who beats him up, other than the Socias. Right, who beats him up with like a 2x4 all the time and all that?
No, that's his dad. Not that one. Who beats him up when he gets beat up by the Socias, and they tell the story of him getting beat up that one. You're right. His dad. Oh, by the way, hang on. When they talk about him getting beat with a 2x4, if you are unaware of what a 2x4 is, it is that big piece of wood that you use to like build things. This is a 2x4. So this is what his dad uses to beat him, is not just like a belt or a stick, but a giant 2x4, which for those of you who are trying to beat me up with the whole stick thing, or trying to fight with me, is the same thing from there.
Don't worry, we wouldn't hit you with a 2x4. We'd hit you with metal bats.
I think that means you care about me. Thank you. All right. Then we can get back to the reading now. Let's see. It's there. We got to that. So we will find out then. If we don't know yet, we're going to find out about who is the actual one that beats him up, because that's going to be showing up here soon. All right. Let me get to there. And all right. Now let's jump to page 37 and we can do more things from there. I think he drills full. Maybe. All right. All right. Chapter 3, page 37. Let's continue from there. After the movie was over, it suddenly came to us that Cherry and Marcia didn't have a way to get home. 2-Bit gallantly offered to walk them home. The west side of town was only about 20 miles away. But by the way, 20 miles away is really far. That's farther away than downtown Indy from here. Like downtown Indy to here is only like 15 miles, something like that. So apparently, like, they make it sound like you could walk there, but there's no way you guys could walk from here to downtown Indy. That's crazy far to try and go. 20 miles away, but they wanted to call their parents and have them come get them. 2-Bit finally talked them into letting us drive them home in his car. I think they were still half scared of us. They were getting over it, though, as we walked to 2-Bit's house to pick up the car. It seemed funny to me that Socias, if these girls were any example, were just like us. They liked the Beatles and thought Elvis Presley was out, and we thought the Beatles were rank and that Elvis was tough, but that seemed to be the only difference to me. Of course, greasy girls would have acted a lot tougher, but there was a basic sameness. I thought maybe it was money that separated us. No, Cherry said slowly when I said this. It's not just money. All right, part of it is, but not all of it. You greasers have a different set of values. You're more, I don't know, emotional. We're sophisticated, cool to the point of not feeling anything. Nothing is real with us. Sometimes I'll catch myself talking to a girlfriend and realize I don't mean half of what I'm saying. I don't really think a beer blast on the river bottom is super cool, but I'll rave about one to a girlfriend just to be saying something. She smiled at me. I never told anyone that. I think you're the first person I've ever really gotten through to. She was coming through to me, all right. Probably because I was a greaser and younger, and she didn't have to keep her guard up with me. Rat race is a perfect name for it, she said. We're always going and going and going and never asking where. Did you ever hear of having more than you wanted so that you couldn't want anything else and then started looking for something else to want? It seems like we're always searching for something to satisfy us and never finding it. Maybe if we could lose our cool, we could. That was the truth. Socials were always behind a wall of aloofness, careful not to let their real selves show through. I'd seen a social club rumble once. The socials even fought coldly, practically, impersonally. That's why we're separated, I said. It's not money, it's feeling. You don't feel anything, and we feel too violently. And she was trying to hide a smile. That's probably why we take turns getting our names in the paper. Two-Bit and Marcia weren't even listening to us. They were engaged in some wild conversation that made no sense to anyone but themselves. I have quite a rep for being quiet, almost as quiet as Johnny. Two-Bit always said he wondered why Johnny and I were such good buddies. You must make such interesting conversation, he said, cocking one eyebrow. You keeping your mouth shut and Johnny not saying anything. But Johnny and I understood each other without saying anything. Nobody but Soda could really get me talking till I met Cherry Valance. I don't know why I could talk to her. Maybe for the same reason she could talk to me. The first thing I knew, I was telling her about Mickey Mouse, Soda's horse. I'd never told anyone about Soda's horse. It was personal. Soda had this buckskin horse, only it wasn't his. It belonged to a guy who kept at the stables where Soda used to work. Mickey Mouse was Soda's horse, though. The first day Soda saw him, he said, "There's my horse." And I never doubted it. I was about 10 then. Soda Pop is horse crazy. I mean it. He's always hanging around stables and rodeos, hopping on a horse every time he gets a chance. When I was 10, I thought that Mickey Mouse and Soda looked alike and were alike. Mickey Mouse was a dark gold buckskin, sassy and ornery, not much more than a colt. He'd come when Soda called him. He wouldn't come for anyone else. That horse loved Soda. He'd stand there and chew on Soda's sleeve or collar. Gosh, but Soda Pop was crazy about that horse. He went down to see him every day. Mickey Mouse was a mean horse. He kicked other horses and was always getting into trouble. "I've got me an ornery pony," she'd Soda tell him, rubbing his neck. "How come you're so mean, Mickey Mouse?" Mickey Mouse would just chew on his sleeve and sometimes nip at him, but not hard. He may have belonged to another guy, but he was Soda's horse.
Why are we seeing a blue Mustang?
Because I haven't talked about it yet. Down, Tiger. Does Soda still have him? Cherry asked. He got sold. They came and got him one day and took him off. It was a real valuable horse, pure quarter. She didn't say anything else, and I was glad. I couldn't tell her that Soda had bawled all night long after they came and got Mickey Mouse. And I'd cried too, if you want to know the truth, because Soda never really wanted anything except a horse, and he'd lost his. Soda had been 12 and going on 13. He never let on to Mom and Dad how he felt, though, because we never had enough money, and usually we had a hard time just making ends meet. When you're 13 in our neighborhood, you know the score. I kept saving my money for a year, thinking that someday I could buy Mickey Mouse back for Soda. You're not so smart at 10. You read a lot, don't you, Pony Boy? Cherry asked. I was startled. Yeah? Why? She kind of shrugged. I could just tell. I'll bet you watch sunsets too. She was quiet for a minute after I nodded. Huh. Yeah, I used to watch them too, before I got so busy. I pictured that, or tried to. Maybe Cherry stood still and watched the sunset while she was supposed to be taking the garbage out. Stood there and watched and forgot everything else until her big brother screamed at her to hurry up. I shook my head. It seemed funny to me that the sunset she saw from her patio and the one I saw from the back steps was the same one. Maybe the two different worlds we lived in weren't so different. We saw the same sunset. Marcia suddenly gasped. Cherry, look what's coming. We all looked and saw a blue Mustang coming down the street. Oh, look at that. Blue Mustang. Johnny made a small noise in his throat. I looked at him. He was white. Marcia was shifting nervously. What are we going to do? Cherry bit a fingernail. Stand here, she said. There isn't much else we can do. If I'm right, I remember my book correctly. We have mentioned the blue Mustang before, didn't we? In the journal. Just making sure I wasn't completely crazy on that one. Who is it? Two-Bit asked. Is that the FBI? No, Cherry said bleakly. It's Randy and Bob. And, Two-Bit added grimly, a few other of the socially elite checkered shirt set. Your boyfriends? Johnny's voice was steady, but standing as close to him as I was, I could see he was trembling. I wondered why. Johnny was a nervous wreck, but he never was that jumpy. Cherry started walking down the street. Maybe they won't see us. Act normal. Ah, who's acting? Two-Bit grinned. I'm a natural normal. So the guys in the blue Mustang are Cherry and Marcia's boyfriends. So those are the ones that they ditched earlier because they got drunk. And now you should also, for those of you who paid attention, know why you recognize that blue Mustang and know why Johnny just reacted the way he did, and things are starting to come together. By the way, why did Cherry and Marcia leave the boyfriends earlier? Remember that. That plays a role coming up too, because people make good choices when you've made bad choice. Nope, that doesn't make sense at all. Wish it was the other way around, I muttered, and Two-Bit said, don't get mouthy, pony boy. The Mustang passed us slowly and went right on by. Marcia sighed in relief. Whew, that was close. Cherry turned to me. Tell me about your oldest brother. You don't talk much about him. I tried to think of something to say about Gary and shrugged. What's to talk about? He's big and handsome and likes to play football. No, I mean, what's he like? I feel like I know Soda from the way you talk about him. Tell me about Derry. When I was silent, she urged me on. Is he wild and reckless like Soda? Dreamy like you? My face got hot as I bit my lip. Derry? I don't know, what was Derry like? I started to say he was a good old guy, but I couldn't. I burst out bitterly. He's not like Soda Pop at all, and he sure ain't like me. He's hard as a rock and about as human. He's got eyes exactly like frozen ice. He thinks I'm a pain in the neck. He likes soda. Everybody likes soda, but he can't stand me. I bet he wishes he could stick me in a home somewhere. He'd do it too if Soda let him. Two-Bit and Johnny were staring at me now. No, Two-Bit said, dumbfounded. No, Pony Boy, that ain't right. You got it wrong. Gee, Johnny said softly. I thought you and Derry and Soda got along real well. Well, we don't, I snapped, feeling silly. I knew my ears were red by the way they were burning, and I was thankful for the darkness. I felt stupid. I mean, compared to Johnny's home, mine was heaven. At least Derry didn't get drunk and beat me up or run me out of the house, and I had Soda Pop to talk things over with. That made me mad. I mean, making a fool of myself in front of everyone. And you can shut your trap, Johnny Cade, because we all know you ain't wanted at home either. You can't blame him. Johnny's eyes went round. Wow, that was a jerk move. Johnny's eyes went round, and he winced as though he felt as I belted him. Two-Bit slapped me a good one across the side of the head, and hard. Shut your mouth, kid. If you wasn't Soda's kid brother, I'd beat the tar out of you. You know better than to talk to Johnny like that. He put his hand on Johnny's shoulder. You didn't mean it, Johnny. Sorry, said miserably. Johnny was my buddy. I was just mad. It's the truth, Johnny said with a bleak grin. I don't care. Shut up talking like that, Two-Bit said fiercely, messing up Johnny's hair. We couldn't get along without you. You just shut up. It ain't fair, I cried passionately. It ain't fair that we have all the rough breaks. I didn't know exactly what I meant, but I was thinking about Johnny's father being a drunk and his mother a selfish slob, and Two-Bit's mother being a barmaid to support him, and his kid's sister after their father ran out on them, and Dally, wild, cunning Dally, turning into a hoodlum because he'd die if he didn't. And Steve, his hatred for his father coming out in his soft, bitter voice and the violence of his temper. Soda Pop, he's a dropout just so he could get a job and keep me in school. Derry, getting old before his time, trying to run a family, hold on to 2 jobs, and never having any fun, while the Socias had so much spare time and money that they jumped us and each other for kicks, had beer blasts and river bottom parties because they didn't know what else to do. Things were rough all over, all right, all over the east side. Just didn't seem right to me. I know, Two-Bit said with a good-natured grin. The chips are always down when it's our turn. Huh? That's the way things are. You like it or you lump it. Cherry and Marcia didn't say anything. I guess they didn't know what to say. Kind of forgotten that they were there. Then the blue Mustang was coming down the street again, more slowly. Well, Cherry said resignedly, they spotted us. The Mustang came to a halt beside us, and the 2 boys in the front seat got out. They were Socias, all right. One had on a white shirt and a Madras ski jacket, and the other a light yellow shirt and a wine-colored sweater. I looked at their clothes and realized for the first time that evening that all I had was a pair of jeans and so does Old Navy sweatshirt. Not Old Navy the company, but Navy the color blue. Old Navy sweatshirt with the sleeves cut short. I swallowed. Two-Bit started to tuck in his shirt tail, but stopped himself in time. He just flipped up the collar of his black leather jacket and lit a cigarette. The Socias didn't even seem to see us. Cherry, Marcia, listen to us, the handsome black-haired Soch with the dark sweater began. Johnny was breathing heavily, and I noticed he was staring at the Socia's hand. He was wearing 3 heavy rings. I looked quickly at Johnny, an idea dawning on me. I remembered it was a blue Mustang that had pulled up beside the vacant lot, and that Johnny's face had been cut up by someone wearing rings. The Socia's voice broke into my thoughts. Just because we got a little drunk last time, Cherry looked mad. A little? You call reeling and passing out in the streets a little? Bob, I told you, I'm never going out with you while you're drinking, and I mean it. Too many things could happen while you're drunk. It's me or the booze. The other Soch, a tall guy with a semi-beetle haircut, turned to Marcia. Baby, you know we don't get drunk very often. And she only gave him a cold stare. He got angry. And even if you are mad at us, there's no reason to go walking the streets with these bums. Two-Bit took a long drag on his cigarette. Johnny slouched and hooked his thumbs in his pockets, and I stiffened. We can look meaner than anything when we want to. Looking tough comes in handy. Two-Bit put his elbow on Johnny's shoulder. Who you calling bums? Listen, greasers, we got 4 more of us in the back seat. Then pity the back seat, Two-Bit said to the sky. If you're looking for a fight, Two-Bit cocked an eyebrow, but it only made him look more cool. You mean if I'm looking for a good jumping, you outnumber us, so you'll give it to us? Well, he snatched up an empty bottle, busted off the end, and gave it to me, then reached in his back pocket and flipped out his switchblade. Try it, pal. No, Cherry cried. Stop it. She looked at Bob. We'll ride home with you. Just wait a minute. Why? Two-Bit demanded. We ain't scared of them. Cherry shuddered. I can't stand fights. I can't stand them. And unfortunately, there we have to stop. And double unfortunately, well, that's, by the way, on the screen, that is a guy who got cut with a bottle. When you get cut, it doesn't make like a normal knife wound. It looks more like getting attacked by like an animal. And so it makes multiple slash marks across. And so when I was Googling my pictures for the broken bottle, there was a guy who'd gotten into a fight. And I was like, ooh, that's kind of fascinating. All right. The beetle haircut, that was what he was talking about just a second ago.
Mr. Broviak, why would you show us some random hairy picture of some random guy's stomach?
I literally just told you. There's a scene coming up. We're going to talk about a fountain in a park. This is the fountain in a park they're talking about. Not a water fountain like you go blub, 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 drink, drink, drink from. But this is the kind of fountain they're talking about. The one that goes like splashy, splashy kind of thing. That's the fountain in the park they're referring to. All right. Oh, man. Thought I had another screen on there. All right. We do. We just don't get to see it yet. The drawback is I thought I had a screen up there, but my computer ate it. So for homework, you're going to need to read the end of chapter 3 and get through chapter 4. We're going to talk about that coming up on Friday with you guys, or Thursday for my 4th period. So I'm going to have to leave you guys now, and then your homework is to read or use audiobook. If you want to use audiobooks, that's absolutely fine with me too. Or if you want to do reading, that's fine with me. So you're going to read chapter 3 and chapter 4. And yes, Andrew, that is where the killing comes in. There is going to be a death coming up because, again, people make poor choices. And then that's when all the bad stuff starts happening. Pretty much from here on out, it is nothing but scary things going on. All right, so read to the end of chapter 4, and I think it was like page 68 or something like that. All right, now I'm done. I'm sorry I kept you guys like an extra minute or two because I got distracted. It's my fault. I'll see you guys later. Toots. See you guys.
Bye, gang.
Gang, gang, gang. Gang, gang.
Remember what's wrong with these children.